Yunze, Minister of National Financial Regulatory Administration, Wu Qing, Chairman of China Securities Regulatory Commission, and Deputy Governor of PBOC and Administrator of State Administration of Foreign Exchange, Zhu Hexin. Together, they will brief us about our financial achievements during the 14th Five-Year Plan, and they would be ready to take your questions. First of all, let's give the floor to Mr. Gongsheng for the briefing. Dear media friends, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to meet you again for the press conference held by SCIO. I would love to take this opportunity to thank our media friends for your coverage and support of PBOC. This year marks the ending year of the 14th Five-Year Plan. In the past 5 years, confronted with the complex domestic and international situations, CPC Central Committee with Xi Jinping at its core has highlighted our strategic goals, pointing out the direction for this new era. And under the leadership of the CPC Central Committee, China's financial sector has made historic achievements. Financial reform has been deepened, top-level design was improved. China's financial governance system and governance capacity modernization have leapt to a higher level. With complete categories of financial institutions with high competitiveness are also welcoming more mature market system. The inclusiveness and high quality of financial services have been elevated. Financial risks have been offset, and we have avoided the systemic financial risks. And also we are opening quicker, faster to the outside world. The financial sector has bigger influence internationally. By the end of June this year, the Chinese bank's total asset was about 470 trillion RMB, ranking number 1 in the world, and the stock market scale was ranking number 2 in the world. For Forex, we also rank number 1 in the world for 20 years in a row. In terms of inclusive financing, digital financing, we are also leading the way. We have basically completed a multi-channel, fully covering settlement system for cross-border settlement. And cross-border payment is world-leading as well. And I would love to elaborate. Now, first, financial reform has been further deepened. CPC Central Committee led our financial reform with certain supervision mechanism. The Financial Regulatory Administration and Financial Work Committee were established to strengthen the centralized supervision. And the socialist system's advantages have been translated into the governance of financial sector. To be a great financial power, there must be 6 elements to be met. We must strengthen the modernized financial system to support the high-quality financial development. Second, financial services are serving the real economy with higher quality and higher efficiency. The Chinese featured monetary system was taking shape with better effects and highly supporting the goals of the 14th Five-Year Plan in the financial sector. Meanwhile, we take solid steps to complete the 5 tasks of the financial sector to underpin the priorities of the national strategies. We improve the scientific finance development in order for it to be at higher level. We meet the certain enterprises to meet their financing need at different stages. During this period, the SMEs credit and green credit have an average growth rate of over 20% annually, especially in September 2024 after the Political Bureau Conference. PBOC has come up with a series of monetary and financial policies to stabilize the market expectation and to rejuvenate confidence about the rebound of economy and our high-quality growth. Third, the reform and opening up of the financial sector is continued to better support the structural reform. We have deepened financial institutions reform by developing multi-layered financial market, and we steadily open up the financial sector and elevate the level of the institutional openness of the financial sector. And as to international cooperation, we have bigger influence, a bigger voice. Fourth, avert major financial risks have made big achievements. For some dominant risks in the financial sector, we have done a good job in avoiding the shocks from the international financial market. We better protect the SME's interest in the financial sector. Now, our financial system is healthy, and the financial institutions are in a healthy status as well in general, and the financial market is in steady growth. In the past 5 years, China's financial sector has made major achievements. Some experience are worth our learning and continuous implementation. First, we must be guided by Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for this new era. Second, we must embark on the Chinese way of financial development. Third, be people-oriented, which should be the fundamental mission. Financial sector should serve the real economy to meet people's expectations and the social development needs. Fourth, avoiding financial risks will be the eternal theme of financial work. Fifth, be market-oriented and be rule-based, and so that the market could play a decisive role. And also, sixth, we must be committed to governing the party stringently to avoid any corruption in the financial sector. To build a great financial power requires long-term efforts. PBOC will continue to execute the CPC Central Committee's decisions and instructions to plan out the 15th five-year plan, so as to contribute to the modernization with Chinese characteristics. Today's press conference is themed under the financial achievements during the 14th five-year plan period. Mainly, we take a mid- and long-term outlook at it. There will be no covering about the short-term policy changes. As to the next step, financial reform, under the instructions of the CPC Central Committee, we will give you more details later on. Now let's give the floor to Mr. Li Yunze. Dear media friends, good afternoon. Thank you for your long-term support of the financial regulatory business. Since the 14th five-year plan period, we had an institutional reform. We have been committed to Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. By implementing the CPC Central Committee and the State Council's policies and decisions, we execute on the political feature and nature of the financial work so as to be more people-oriented. We endeavor to complete our 14th five-year plan goals. And I would love to introduce three major information. First, the high-quality growth of this financial industry has made a big leap. We have bigger, comprehensive strength. Now in the financial banking sector or the insurance sector, total asset value was over 500 trillion RMB with an average growth rate of 9% in the past 5 years. We are the biggest credit market and the second largest insurance market in the world. For the trust, wealth management, insurance and asset management has a total asset volume of 100 trillion RMB. That's doubling the last 13th five-year plan period. And 143 financial institutions were in the chart globally. And we have full coverage and differentiated financial system. For the large institutions, they are playing a dominant role. For the small and medium-sized institutions, they are serving local development with real benefits delivered. Among the top 50 banks in the world, 43 had their presence in China. 40 largest insurance companies have half of them present in China. Financial operation is steady. The non-performing loans and the capital adequacy ratio and repayment ratio and all the other indicators are looking up. So we're within a healthy range judged by those parameters. In the past 5 years, the non-performing loans have been treated with a larger scale, up by 40% than the 13th five-year plan period. And we have responded to different sorts of challenges with more solid foundation and higher confidence. Second, financial services has come to a higher level. The main channel of financing in the financial sector has been given full play. In the past 5 years, the banks and insurance companies have resorted to the bonds and equities and credits to offer the real economy with over 170 trillion more RMB yuan credit. And those were very precise targets. For the mid and long-term loans, infrastructure loans, the growth rates annually was about 21.7% and 10.1% respectively. For the inclusive SME credit balance was about 36 trillion RMB yuan. And the interest rate has been down for 2 percentage points. So we better protect people's livelihood. For the insurance company, the composition was 9 trillion RMB yuan. Compared to the last 5-year plan period, that was an increase of 61.7%. Agriculture insurance helped 80,000 farmers with risk aversion protection. For the health-related insurance, we have accumulated about 11 trillion RMB yuan provisions with larger coverage. From Mohe to Sansha Islands, we have outlets everywhere, and we render services in all the villages. Third, supervision has opened a new chapter. The system of regulation has been reformed. We implemented the spirits of the Central Financial Conference. The institutional reform has been wrapped up successively. The full-layered structure was in operation now, and we have been pushing forward the coordination of the financial supervision. We have 3-layered measures to crack down upon those illegal behaviors, and we have improved the rule of law in the regulatory sector with higher levels of digitalization and intelligence. The institutional regulation, behavior regulation, functional regulation, and continuous regulation and penetrative regulation have all been strengthened. We are committed to stringent law enforcement, and we have cracked down upon 20 trillion institutions and 36,000 individuals. 211 trillion RMB yuan has been the fines due to their illegal behaviors. For the SMEs, real estate markets, we also set up a specific financing coordination mechanism with the central government and local governments in close coordination. So they share their responsibilities and work together to walk towards each other. So that's all for my briefing. Thank you. Next, Mr. Wu Qing. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for your long-term concern of the work of China Securities Regulatory Commission. The previous 2 governors have briefed us about the financial sectors and the insurance sector's development situation during the 14th 5-year plan. I was encouraged. For the capital market, that was also a very decisive 5 years because we faced more uncertainties and more complicated situations. And the CPC Central Committee has given a series of major decisions and arrangements. And our commission worked together with different authorities to execute on those policies in order to strengthen our regulation and facilitate development. We hope to stabilize the market and the confidence so that we could bring forth a sound market momentum. First of all, the legal system has taken shape. Since the new securities regulation law was enforced, the futures and derivatives law, the private equity supervision regulation, and others that have been drafted for 10 years were also coming into force. The capital markets legal system therefore, was improved. Last year, State Council published another document about avoiding financial risks to facilitate high-quality development of the capital market. We call it the new 9 articles at national level. Accordingly, 60 supplementary regulations came out. So the underlying logic has been cemented, laying a solid foundation for the capital market development. Second, multi-layered market system was established. Especially, we are pushing forward the reform of the entrepreneurship board. We are steadily developing the complementary and multi-layered equity market by encouraging the National Equities Exchange and Quotations reform. This year, the revenues in the stock market was exceeding 100 trillion RMB for the first time, with more diversity in the offering of the equity products. And the market is growing more innovative. In the whole market for the futures and the share options, there were 170 different varieties. Third, financing and investment are coordinating with each other. In the past 5 years, the exchange's total financing exceeded 57.5 trillion RMB, which was a steady growth of about 2.8 percentage points higher compared to the last 5-year plan period. And also, the technology content in those transactions was higher. For the newly listed companies in recent years, 90% of them were technological-driven enterprises. In A shares, 1/4 of those companies were technology sector, for example, including the real estate market with higher market valuation. For the top 50 enterprises, according to the ranking of market valuation, tech firms increased from 18 to 24. And also the public companies have higher social responsibilities by returning to the public. For example, they send out red packets at the scale of over 10 trillion RMB, 80% higher than the last 5-year plan period. In the meantime, the capital formation mechanism and mid- and long-term capital inflow to the market were more active. Fourth, coordinated measures have been taken. In face of multiple challenges and risks out of our expectation, under the leadership of CPC Central Committee, we work together with different market players and authorities to have more capital offset to avoid major market risks. During the 5-year plan period, the A shares market has higher capacity of avoiding risks. And 15.9% was the annual yield, 2.8 percentage lower than the 13th 5-year plan period. Fifth, a fair market environment was taking shape. We keep improving the whole chain supervision system and take stringent measures to crack down upon the illegal behaviors. For example, during the 14th 5-year plan period, we take punitive measures against those illegal behaviors. And the law enforcement measures have been stronger and more transparent. The market ecology was improved. In general, we have seen quantitative growth during the 14th 5-year plan period and a quality improvement, laying a solid foundation for the further improvement in the 15th 5-year plan period. And that was thanks to the strenuous leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, and also thanks to the joint efforts of different market players and the general public. And I would love to take this opportunity to thank every one of you. Next, Mr. Zhu Hexin. Good afternoon. First of all, I would love to thank you for your support of our Forex work in the past 5 years. Under the leadership of CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, we have been coordinating the safety issues of development so as to better support the development, and they are shown in the following 4 areas. First, steady international payment situation was achieved. In face of international complexities, we have undergone the challenges domestically with basically balanced international payment and expenditure, and we maintain a reasonable proportion to GDP. By the end of July, the international institutions hold over 10 trillion equities and bonds. Second, we have more convenient foreign exchange environment based on the credibility of enterprises, and we take targeted measures to serve them financially with shortened and streamlined procedure. Compared to the end of 2020, our efficiency of such services was 5 times higher. And Forex bureaus administrative licensing ratio was down by 70%. In Forex sector, we are also opening up wider. As to direct investment, we can basically have 100% of conversion. And cross-border institutions are benefiting from such connectivity mechanism. Cross-border investment was better improved. Cross-border financing has been managed. QFII and RQFII enjoyed streamlined access to the bond market so as to have a unified capital pool. In that framework, 1,000 cross-border institutions have joined us. And for Panda Bond, we also have better management. We support Hong Kong International Financial Center development. In the free trade areas like Hainan Free Trade Port, Greater Bay Area, and some other prioritized areas, we took pilot programs to support Forex work. Third, supervision, capacity, and risk aversion capacity were boosted. While deepening the development of Forex market, we keep improving the prudence level of the foreign exchange market. We successfully responded to multiple rounds of external shocks. In the 5 years' time, we have solved 6,100 different Forex-related cases. Many illegal entities and activities in the Forex sector have been avoided and punished. For example, illegal private banks. Our Forex has maintained at the level of 3 trillion, and in the recent 2 years, it's about 3.2 trillion. So we continued our management of such assets in order to increase the value of the asset. And Forex matters to the national financial stability. They serve as the ballast stones. So in the next 5-year plan, we will have more improved Forex management system in order to better contribute to China's modernization. Thank you. Now we open the floor to questions. Please identify yourself before raising the question. From the Poster News, in the 14th Five-Year Plan, how did the PBOC deepen the reform in the financial sector to establish the central bank system? Thank you for the question. To establish a strong central bank is an integral part to establish a modernized financial system. During the 14th Five-Year Plan period, PBOC improved our monetary policies and the prudent macro policies. So the currencies were stabilized and net value was maintained. We strengthened our central bank system to contribute to high-quality economic and financial development. And below are the details. First, establish a scientific monetary system. Improve the modernized monetary framework with Chinese characteristics. We improve the intermediary variables. We give better play to the price-related adjustment factors. We have further enlarged the toolkits of the monetary market and explored many structural tools of monetary policies. We explored richer monetary instruments in the financial sector so that the monetary policies can play a bigger role. We also strengthen the policy transmission model so that the monetary policies would be more transparent. Modernized monetary framework with Chinese characteristics has basically taken shape, supporting the steady growth of the aggregate financial volume and stabilizing the currencies. Secondly, the prudent macro policy system took shape, and a certain mechanism about avoiding financial risks was in place. Especially in the prioritized areas, we have prudent macro management, especially the supervision of the important financial institutions. So those institutions could have a stronger capacity of avoiding risks. Thirdly, establish a facility mechanism in the financial market. We have basically completed multi-layered debt to equity swap market. The financial market mechanism has been further reinforced. The connection of Chinese financial market with international ones was elevated. Fourthly, establish a higher level of supervision and deepening the openness of the financial sector and internationalize RMB. Through multiple channels and wider coverage, we hope to have a larger cross-border payment system. We encourage international cooperation. For example, we are part of the international rulemaking process and standardization process. In the next step, PBOC will continue to be driven by the reform to strengthen the central bank system and embark on the financial development pathway with Chinese characteristics.
I'll ask my question in English if that's okay. On banking stability, what's been the process in resolving risks at risks at medium and small banks? How many more financial institutions have been removed or consolidated? At the end of 2019, there were 4,295 banking institutions, and there are now, at the end of 2024, there were 4,295 banking institutions, which compares with 4,600 at the end of 2019. Is this drop caused by bank amalgamations, and will you continue to shrink that number? And how many financial institutions are now labeled as high risk? Thank you.
请翻译一下。
你好，我将用英文问这个问题。关于银行业的稳定性，请问中小银行风险化解进展如何？具体的话，金融机构它的风险的压降情况如何？这里有两个数字，在2024年年底，中国的银行业金融机构有4295家，在2019年的时候，这个数字是4600多家。那么这个数字的降低，是否是因为这个风险化解的努力？那么到底中国有多少银行金融机构是被列为高风险金融机构？谢谢。
金融监管总局。
谢谢你的提问。这个问题呢，也是国内外同行以及社会各界 非常
parts
关
of
注的一个问题。
different circles of
“15
policy.
时期，我
During
们
the
呢
14th
始终把
five-year plan period,
防范化解
averting
金融风
financial
险
risks has
作
always
为
been
监管
taken
部
as
门
the top priority of the Financial Regulatory Administration. Settling the small and medium-sized financial institutions' risks have been the top priority. Under the leadership of CPC Central Committee, we executed on looking at the big picture and coordinative measures. We took precise measures to avoid the financial risks, and that battle has gained stage-by-stage achievements. We tried to avoid systemic financial risks. And we have done the following. First, take steady measures to deal with those highly risky institutions. As our journalist has mentioned, in some key areas, we took targeted measures specifically tailored for the provinces. We consolidated some banks and asked out some other banks. So in an orderly fashion, we implemented the consolidation measures. Now, as to the number of highly risky institutions and the number of highly risky assets, they have been down aggressively. Their proportion in our overall financial system was smaller, and the risks are within control. In some provinces, the highly risky financial institutions have been even down to zero. We have noticed that some foreign invested banks' reports mentioned about the decreasing asset volume of the highly risky assets in China. And they concluded that China's financial risks aversion measures have been very notable, and the available risks in the market are within control that will facilitate the reform and transition. So the overall direction will be continued by being guided by the CPC Central Committee. In the past 5 years, over half of the provinces have established provincial-level legal person institutions, and the commercial banks restructuring has been in steady fashion, and the stock rights banks have also taken reforms. They come back to their fundamental functions. For the small and medium-sized financial institutions have been reduced in size. We will continue to optimize the structure. You mentioned about the small banks' number decrease from 2023 to 2024. That was result of our implementation of the measures. And that lead to controllable financial risks. Third, for the illegal phenomenon, we took decisive measures to crack down upon them, especially for the linked transactions and illegal transactions. We phased out 3,600 shareholders, and some illegal financial troops have been punished legally. We hope to encourage the financial sector to better be grounded on the reality. We also avoided the interest arbitrage behaviors so that the financial assets could flow to the real economy. Meanwhile, we actively support the measures to avoid local debt risks, and especially in the real estate market. We hope to stop the continued downturn of the real estate market, especially for the affordable housing projects. We offer over 1.6 trillion RMB of support. For the leasing credit increase was about 5.2% annually. We also established a mechanism for the real estate market coordination. For the white listing credit, the total volume was over 7 trillion RMB. We supported 2,000 apartments to be constructed and delivered. We took aggressive measures to protect the rights of the owners. We also guide financial institutions to abide by the red line of avoiding further credit. For some loans, we have the loan replacement policy in place so that the localities could try to reduce the debt level during the development. From CMG. My question is during the 14th five-year plan period as to supporting high-quality development during the 14th five-year plan period. How did PBOC strike a balance between stabilizing development and avoiding risks? Thank you for the question. PBOC pursued progress during stability. For one thing, we strengthened the support of financial sector over real economy. Also, we pay attention to avoiding systemic financial risks to stabilize the financial sector. And I would love to elaborate on 4 points. First, take a scientific attitude towards dynamic balance between the two factors. Economy is the root of financial sector. Many economic issues might be shown through the financial channel and thus having spillover effects. So those two risks were interwoven and mutually reinforcing each other. So we must take macro policies to avoid the financial risks with a balance. We must continue to support high-quality economic growth so that financial stability could be guaranteed from the root. Second, in the prioritized areas, we must diffuse the risks. For example, the financing platforms, debt risks must be avoided. We coordinate the local assets to diffuse the risks through such platforms. And we also try to translate some financing platforms into the market-oriented players. We also restructure some debts to reduce the liquidity risks of the assets. Certain work has made stage-by-stage preliminary achievements. By the end of June, compared to early 2023, the financing platforms were reduced by 60% in number, and the debt scale was down by 50%. In general, the debt risk level in the local financing platforms has been controlled. As to how the financial sector support the risk aversion in the real estate market, we commit ourselves to the macro-prudent policies. For example, we took measures targeting at the interest rate of the mortgage. Every year, for 50 million households, we can reduce an interest payment of over 300 billion RMB yuan. As to diffusing the risk of the SMEs, we work together with the local governments to have some consolidation, M&A, and hedging. So the number of SMEs was down from the peak. Third, we maintain the steady growth of the financial market. In the forex market, market plays a dominant role in forex formation. In face of the volatile external environment, we maintained the general stability of RMB exchange rate. Over the years, China's forex market players were growing more mature, and we have diversity of currencies in offering. So from a macro perspective, we evaluate the market situation to strengthen our regulation. For the market players, we notify them about the risks in time to avoid accumulation of the risks, and the market operation was stabilized as well. In the capital market, we explore the ways of stabilizing capital market with monetary policies. Together with the National Securities Regulatory Commission, we work together on the increased value of the stock rights. We kept improving the long-term mechanism of the capital market. Fourth, improve the financial stability guarantee system. We facilitate the PBOC legislation to improve the supervision, evaluation, and early warning systems of the financial risks. As to resources, we set up a financial stability fund and the deposits mechanism. In general, during the 14th five-year plan period, the financial system is in steady operation, supporting high-quality economic growth. And we also have concluded our experience. First, strengthening the CPC Central Committee's central leadership is the fundamental guarantee of avoiding financial risks. The central and local governments are in close coordination. Secondly, from a macro perspective, we look at the relationship between economic development and financial risks. High-quality macroeconomic growth and steady financial operation matter to the healthy status of the financial institutions. In practices, we must balance the short-term and long-term, supporting real economy and maintaining the health of the financial sector and internal and external balance, so as to stabilize our financial operation and safety. Thirdly, in terms of marketization and the rule of law, we must take prudent measures to reduce the risks. We strengthen the market-oriented governance and urge different players to hold themselves accountable. We stringently avoid spillover of the risks, including the ethics risks. Rights and interests must be combined with responsibilities, and we must have an accountability system. Fourth, reinforce regulation to avoid financial corruption. Financial regulation is the first defense line. We must have an early warning and risk evaluation system to have early discovery, early notification, and settlement of the financial risks. For the illegal behaviors, corruption behaviors, and other behaviors that's against the disciplines, we must hold certain people accountable. Thank you. From Xinhua News Agency. According to the 14th five-year plan, we must deepen reform and establish a high-level socialist market economic system. So my question is to Mr. Wu Qing, what's the recent measures taken about such market-oriented reform in the capital market? China's capital market is the result of reform and opening up. So reform and opening up is the DNA of our capital market. And we are marked by the high level of openness in our capital market. Our commission has been implementing the 14th five-year plan period so as to be market-oriented, more international, and be based on rule of law. We took systemic measures to introduce a series of landmark reform measures. And they are as follows. First, reform on the investment end has making a breakthrough. The investor's interest comes first, and the public fund pursues high-quality growth. The investment returns would be the core of our performance evaluation, and we reduce the charges and fees in 3 different steps. Our commission worked together with PBOC and Financial Regulatory Administration and others to publish a guideline on the mid- and long-term fund in the market. The insurance, wealth management, social security have some pain points that should be resolved. We should have some pilot projects for personal pension system. Those are the good examples of our measures. They were put onto the ground. And we hope to encourage long-term investment. Some initial effects have been surfacing already. By the end of August, mid- and long-term fund have a market valuation in A shares at about 21.4 trillion. That was 32% higher than the end of 13th five-year plan period. Second, on the financing end, the reform has been deepened. The registration mechanism of the shares have been piloted and then disseminated, supporting productive forces development. We implemented the 8 articles in the reform of the stock market. We restructured reforms, together, a series of optimization arrangements have been made. In June this year, we also set up a 1+6 reform measure in the Science and Technology Innovation Board. 3 tech firms have completed their registration. And the first case of the GEM has been in operation. Thirdly, information disclosure and corporate governance are the 2 wheels. We have amended the information disclosure measures. And the independent board of directors reform was in place. So the public procedure was more transparent. We hope to guide the public companies to be stronger. Some already disclosed major M&A was at the number of 130. Those better supported the consolidation of the public companies. We also strengthened 2 rounds of market governance reform by extending the channels of market withdrawal. For some empty shell companies, we phased them out. About 200 more companies exited. Fourthly, high-level institutional openness was wider. We coordinate between openness and safety. For products and institutions, we hope to have a 2-way openness. We have canceled the proportion limitation of foreign invested companies. Gongsheng Gang Connect was in place to establish higher connectivity. And overseas filing system was in place. For example, there are 5 articles to support Hong Kong to cement its status as the international financial center. During the 5 years' time, we have reviewed 13 foreign invested futures companies, allowing them to do business in China. The foreign invested A shares market valuation is now 3.4 trillion RMB yuan, and 269 enterprises have gone public overseas during the 5 years' time. That is to say, we have enlarged our circle of friends in our capital market. From 21st century economy. In the 14th five-year plan period, external environment was transforming. My question to the State Administration of Forex is, what is your take about our overall situation in Forex market, and what's your take about our future in this market? International political and social and economic factors come together to influence us. We must all agree. International financial market was more volatile, but China pursues high-quality growth and higher-level openness. In general, China's forex market is in steady operation, with higher resilience and vitality. And there are 3 features of it. First, the steady growth of overseas-related activities that can reflect the vitality of our economy. In 2024, our cross-border international payment and expenditure was $14 trillion. Compared to the 13th five-year plan period, that was 8% higher. As to this year, in the first 8 months, we have an annual increase of 10% in terms of cross-border receipts and payments. Second, the forex market has more complete functions. In terms of transaction scale, in 2024, that scale was about $41 trillion. Compared to 2020, that was 37% higher. As to derivatives, the scale also increased. In the forex market, we are highly accommodating different sorts of transactions, creating good preconditions for different transactions. As to the market players, by the end of June, 703 banks and 115 non-bank financial institutions were part of our market. And I know you are concerned about some of them. 296 are international financial institutions covering different currencies, better serving the needs of all sorts of market players. Clearance and payment mechanisms have been more mature, reducing the settlement risks, supporting real economy in a better way. Thirdly, the forex transactions were reasonable and stable. The fluctuations of RMB forex was stronger. So RMB is serving as the autonomous stabilizer of the forex system. And RMB has a bigger account of international trade to about 30% from 16% in 2020. Also, the macro-prudent management system was improved in the forex market. In recent years, in face of highly volatile international market, China's cross-border asset has been in balanced liquidity, and RMB is quite stable in terms of forex ratio. Looking into the future, we think good of our fundamentals with steady growth of our openings, paving the way for the balanced international payments. And also the RMB forex formation system is improved with more effective measures of managing forex. So we have bigger confidence to respond to the forex fluctuations, paving the way for the healthy development of the forex market during the 15th five-year plan period. From Securities Times, my question goes to Wu Qing. In the 14th five-year plan period, capital market has experienced some unexpected challenges. So, in terms of regulating the capital market, what has your commission done to avoid risks? As you said, in the past 5 years, our capital market was confronted with very complex and profound changes. The imported external risks were flooding to us, and meanwhile, the abrupt outbreak of COVID-19 dealt another shock to us. And the capital market is standing at the crossroad of different risks, so it's very vulnerable and sensitive. The Central Financial Work Conference mentioned that we must strengthen the creation of safe, regulated, transparent, dynamic, and resilient capital market. So safety comes first. That strengthens the importance of avoiding financial risks and strengthening supervision. As to how to avert the financial risks, there have been a lot of mentioning already today. So now I will focus more on the capital market. We commit ourselves to pursuing steady growth so as to fend off against the financial risks. First, steady operation of the capital market. We strengthen all-round early warning system, so we could have cross-market, cross-border risk aversion system. We have counter-cyclical adjustment mechanism, and in the meantime, we reinforce our coordination with the other entities. We support insurance, securities, funds, and public companies to play their role as stabilizers internally. Together, we took measures to build up our dam against those strong waves from the external side. And as a result, we have improved the investors' confidence and market expectations. Secondly, in the key areas, financial risks have been controlled. In the exchanges, the default ratio of securities have been kept at below 1%. For the private equity risk governance, it's been in steady implementation. 7,000 zombie entities have been phased out. Some incremental risks in private equity sector has been avoided. We have closed down some gold exchanges. 27 exchanges have been closed down. And almost 100 illegal gold exchanges have been in the process of being phased out. Thirdly, law enforcement has been in place to avoid the fiscal fraudulent behaviors. All the illegal behaviors must be cracked down upon fairly, regardless of their size. For example, for Hengda Group, we have a settlement of about 41 trillion RMB. The third-party fraudulent behavior was also punished. For another, we took legal measures to have precise targeting. Together with the Supreme People's Court, we act on the high-quality growth of the capital market. We keep improving the civil, administrative, punishment, and accountability systems. We have transferred over 700 cases to the public security bureaus, and the certain parties have been held accountable according to the law. Fourthly, investors' protection has been guaranteed. We responded to the needs and concerns of the investors. For example, quantitative transaction and financing questions have been answered. As to buyback policies, we have elaborated on them to identify the responsibilities clearly. Throughout the whole process, we improve the insurance process, especially in the case of Kangmei Pharmaceutical. We compensated the certain party 2.4 billion RMB. In another case, we paid 1.09 billion RMB. Those are some typical examples with the support of different localities. In that way, we improve the protection of the investors' legitimate rights. From CMG, during the 14th five-year plan period, what's the situation of the National Financial Regulatory Administration in your measures to protect the rights of the certain parties? We look at the big picture of the financial sector in implementing the new development concepts. We took measures to optimize the resource distribution in the financial sector. In the key areas and in the loophole stages, our service efficiency has been improved. And to put it simply, we have one increase, one optimization, and one supplement. One increase means increasing supply. We support the realization of economic and social goals so as to guarantee the financing for the water diversion system from south to north, and 102 other major projects during the 14th five-year plan period which offer adequate financing support. Infrastructure credit balance was 54 trillion RMB. That was an increase of 62% compared to the last five-year plan period. 700 billion financial and policy-oriented tools have been used with a total valuation of 9 trillion RMB. We have a better financial supply in catering, accommodation, and other consumption sectors. The credit balance had an increase of over 80%. And for the automotives, the total number was over 1.6 billion compared to the last 5-year plan period. That was 40% higher. We also target at the automotive insurance and NEVs so as to have better insured situation. Now, the insured vehicles stand at the number of over 40 million. We also stabilize foreign trade. The export-oriented credit has been growing with a total valuation of $4.4 trillion, 52% higher than the last 5-year plan period. We hope to create a fast track to serve the cross-border e-commerce platforms and overseas warehouses so as to support the double circulation. And as to one optimization, it means restructuring. We hope to divert the resources towards the new quality productive forces, and we hope to better support the tech firms financially. The financing had an increase of 20% annually. We also try to cultivate patient capital. Insurance, stock rights, and other funds had exceeded 5.4 trillion RMB yuan. The balance increased by 85% compared to 13th 5-year plan period, supporting the capital market to have healthy and stable growth. We also highlight the guarantee of technologies. For risk guarantee, we had a 10 trillion RMB yuan for that purpose, supporting 3,600 different projects. Try to guarantee the translation of scientific results. Since last year, we actively facilitate the equity investment insurance fund reform and the tech firms' acquisition credit, as well as the IPR-related ecosystem building. For the tech sectors, we have increased additional 1 trillion RMB yuan for investment, supporting the scientific innovation and industrial innovation. For one supplement, it means we need to supplement the loopholes. We strengthen financial support in the loopholes. For the private and SMEs, we hope to lean more towards them in financing. During that period, we have extended the repayment period for those SMEs, benefiting over 10 million financial players. Since last year, we took the lead in establishing a financing coordination mechanism for SMEs, giving 22 trillion RMB yuan of credit to them. And we have tangible measures to reduce the burden on the SMEs. Poverty reduction and village rejuvenization has been combined. For those localities, we have extended 3.1 billion RMB yuan of credit. Small loans has been at the number of 40 million, benefiting 9 million households. Inclusive credit had an increase of 14.6% annually. And we also have some agriculture-related insurance. The average premium has increased by 72%, meeting the needs of elderly care. The elderly care, wealth management, and pension systems have been in steady growth, and the third pillar of elderly care has been sped up. The major disease insurance has been benefiting over 120,000 residents. The commercial insurance, health insurance, helped the ill people with a payment of 1.8 trillion of compensation. We also try to insure against disasters. For example, flood, typhoon, earthquake. We have compensated for over 150 billion. For all those insured, we would compensate for them faster and reasonably. The pilot projects have been disseminated in 20 more provinces and municipalities so as to build up a safety net to fend off those disasters. From CNBC. In September, the Federal Reserve decided to reduce 25 basis points. So, what is the next step of PBOC in terms of your monetary policy? I cannot give you a definite answer to that question, but I could share something about the macro considerations. Days ago, the Federal Reserve decided to reduce another 25 basis interest points. We had our expectation about the further reduction of interest rates, so we didn't respond frenetically, and usually it's about 97. International capital market is on the rise. Commodity market is going down. China's bond and forex financial markets and stock market are in steady operation. PBOC decides the monetary policy based on certain macro situations. That was clear. China's monetary policy is based on our own situation, while considering a balance of two markets. Now, as to China's monetary policy, we are responsive to the market, and the market players are clear about it. China's capital market is very supportive. We adopt the moderately loose monetary policy that supports the pickup of China's capital market and the steady operation of the financial market. Looking into the future, based on the macro situation and any changes in the market, we will take comprehensive measures, including different sorts of monetary instruments. I think the other central banks, like those in Japan and USA, it's the same thing. When they try to readjust their monetary policies, we adhere to that basic logic. It's data-based. So they make new judgments based on the macro situations to decide whether there should be a new round of monetary policy change. So central banks in the whole world are the same in that regard, including us. So we will fully consider the changes of the situation, especially the macro situation, to adopt different sorts of instruments to ensure the reduction of financing cost, supporting consumption and effective investment, consolidating the rebound of our economy, safeguarding the stability of the financial market, and maintaining the reasonable level of RMB exchange rate. I think I've answered your question. Thank you. The insurance paper. The Forex Administration kept improving cross-border trade with the investment facilitation reform. So, did those measures play some role over stabilizing the foreign investment and the trade? Thank you for your question. Indeed, you are right. We deepened the Forex reform to serve the high-quality real economy. I think to conclude, there are three ways. First, the efficiency of international trade has been higher. We facilitate the cross-border investment with some pilot projects in place showing initial effects. Certain businesses involve 4.6 trillion US dollars, and they are happening in higher frequency. We support the banks to approve and review those applications to have more convenient forex settlement. 5.6 such businesses have been handled in the past 5 years. As to cross-border trade facilitation, it's at a higher level. We facilitate the project's implementation. Certain businesses in the past 5 years was over 300 billion US dollars, elevating high-tech, professional, enterprises, foreign debt level. We enrich the scenarios of financing, assisting 160,000 enterprises in that application, with a benefit of 2.4 trillion US dollars. 70% of those enterprises involved are SMEs. Recently, cross-border investment and financing and capital projects policies are taking shape in a basket. In the future, we will continue to follow the policy implementation so the enterprises could reap tangible benefits. Thirdly, give play to the banks, so that the forex business capacities would be improved in the banks. We guide those banks in due diligence in their review process. In the middle of the procedure, they would have differentiated review. Through institutional reform and technological empowerment, we could streamline the entire review procedure. The pilot has been underway, serving 23,000 clients with a total value of 500 billion US dollars in those businesses. So we would strengthen the rule of law to improve our financial market so as to establish a new mechanism with openness. From daily economic news, we must improve the modernized financial system so as to improving the regulatory capacity, what has been done by your administration. We actively implemented the instructions by CPC Central Committee in terms of the financial reform. We hope to have systemic restructuring of our regulation, strengthening 5 fields of our regulation. For the new institutions, new working styles, new achievements, we work on them. We hope to transform people's mindsets, working styles, and effects of regulation. First of all, the loopholes of the institutional designs must be filled. We amended the major laws and regulations in that regard with good achievements. Last week, the draft version has been reviewed by the Standing Committee of the State Council. Insurance law amendment is underway as well. The regulatory system is improved. In the past 5 years, we have published 171 different regulations covering the banks, insurance companies, asset management entities, and non-bank institutions with high-quality guidance. Capital management and asset categorization rules are included. We have basically fostered prudent macro control policies, micromanagement, risk supervision, compliance regulation, covering the whole life cycle from market access to exit. Secondly, regulation efficiency has been improved. We targeted the real risks to solve the real problems. We took comprehensive measures to have multi-layered and categorized regulation. For the high risks and low risks, we allocate our regulatory resources respectively. For 41 prioritized institutions, we prioritize their regulation. For 112 SME insurance companies, we also have changed their authority of regulation. For those key people and cases that would undermine the financial market's stability, we would take firm actions against them. We also planned out new projects by using big data and AI technologies so as to comprehensively strengthen our regulation. Third, we serve the people in our regulatory work. The financial institutions, industrial associations are working together to foster a new landscape of regulation. We urge certain institutions to manage the validity of their products and regulate their marketing behaviors so as to establish a reassuring financial products consumption market. We set up a product search platform to provide more convenience to the consumers. We took close measures to crack down upon illegal financial behaviors. Illegal financing cases decreased by 50%. We went all out to protect people's money. And fourthly, we guide industry-specific reform. Party leadership and corporate governance were combined. The modernized financial enterprise system was well developed. We encouraged differentiated and customized development of different financial institutions. We helped them to reduce their cost, improve efficiency, and avoid disorderly competition. Market interest rates are combined with the fixed interest rate. We also reformed the automotive insurance. The insurance companies in 2024 reduced their cost by 350 billion RMB yuan. The total cost ratio was reduced to the lowest level in the last 10 years. As to the ratio of the fees and charges, it was also a new low in 20 years' time. So the industry has bigger drive of growth from internally. Last two questions, please. From Financial Times. Openness of the financial sector is an integral part of China's reform and opening up. And during the 14th five-year plan period, what achievements has been made in that regard? The financial market opening up is an integral part of China's overall opening up. In the 14th five-year plan period, according to the arrangements of the central government, we have made achievements in the following. First, institutional openness has been deepened in the financial sector. We work with different authorities to orderly improve the level of openness so that the financial markets are better connected. For example, the Bond Connect and Shanghai Hong Kong Connect helped a lot, elevating the internationalization level of our financial market. By the end of July, over 10 trillion was held. For example, including 3 trillion stocks, 4 trillion of bonds, 3 trillion of deposits. For panda bonds, the total issuance was over 1 trillion. And we kept improving our infrastructure development, encouraging the currency swap. Our currency swap cooperation is a very important part. With 32 countries and regions, we have signed agreements over currency conversion. As to RMB settlement, it has a bigger coverage, supporting the offshore RMB market development. And the internal demand for RMB is stronger. Now, RMB is the biggest option, the first option, and also the third payment option internationally. And in the basket of currencies of RMF, RMB ranks number 3. If you look at the long run, in the past 20 years' time, RMB international status has been elevated step by step. That was a great feature of international currency reform. Third, we support Shanghai to be built into a RMB asset distribution center and a risk management center. We work with the other authorities to come up with certain measures. In Shanghai, we set up an interbank bond market transaction platform so as to enrich the scenarios of transactions in Shanghai and invite more international players to join us. We keep deepening the Chinese mainland and Hong Kong's international cooperation, and, for example, the offshore RMB businesses, so as to cement Hong Kong's status as an international financial center and facilitate its development and prosperity in the financial sector. Fourthly, business environment has been more inclusive and friendly. We reform the forex to facilitate the international trade. The cross-border payment has been improved as well. We have basically completed a diversified cross-border payment system. For example, RMB cross-border payment system, or the so-called SIX, and the commercial banks system, Alipay, WeChat payment, and others are for the retail payment. Also, digital RMB plays its role in cross-border payment. In the future, I believe it is going to be very promising. We optimize the cross-border digital currency development. Fifth, in the landscape of openness, the financial risk aversion capacity would be stronger. So we must strengthen our regulation and early warning of those risks in order to have a more reasonable international financial governance system so that the international macro policies could be more aligned. International and regional safety nets could be built. In the next step, PBOC will continue to deepen our financial reform to safeguard the financial safety of China. With the high level of financial openness, we could support the financial sector's development as a whole. Thank you. Last question, please. From the cover. Since last September, the A-shares market is picking up, and the Central Financial Conference emphasized that we must revitalize the capital market so that it is going to be more appealing. So what will be the measures in the next step from the Securities Regulatory Commission? First of all, congratulations to you for getting the chance to raise the last question. And thank you for posing that question for me. I'm very honored to take it. In September last year, during the Political Bureau Conference, fiscal, financial, and industry areas have witnessed the efficiency improvement-related new policies, covering larger dimensions. Some structural monetary policies have been innovated. Those effectively supported the steady development of the capital market. Technological innovation and industrial innovation are going forward hand in hand. Some phenomenal tech firms and innovative products were making their presence. The 1+N system in the capital market was put into operation. So, under the influence of those factors, China's assets are more appealing to the outside world. Meanwhile, we are aware that the new round of technological revolution is evolving. AI, biomedicine, blockchain technologies are developing fast, affecting the economic and social actions and also transforming technological, financial, and industrial development. In recent years, some major financial markets in the world are speeding up their capital market institutional designs by innovating their products and systems, endeavoring to improve the inclusiveness of the markets and the efficiency of market operations. So under the new circumstances, how can we improve our development philosophies and the regulation manners so as to make our markets more appealing and better serving the high-quality growth. That is a very daunting task in front of us. We must pursue steady growth and reform the financing and investment sectors to elevate the level of market and the inclusiveness of different players in order to have more effective resource distribution so the finer funds and enterprises could be more dynamic and they can add more value. First of all, we must improve the adaptability of the capital market. For example, by working on the reform of the GEMs, including the M&A, the listing policies, we will take more aggressive, innovative measures to support different industries, especially these high-quality enterprises, to grow stronger through the capital market. To that end, we must have more inclusive policies. Secondly, we must give better play to the mid- and long-term fund, serving as the ballast of the capital market. We will implement the long-term performance evaluation system to facilitate the cross-border investment and financing, attracting more investors globally to come to China to share the benefits of our growth. Third, improving the investment value, supporting the listed companies to be more professional and work on their main businesses by strengthening the responsibility of shareholders. In that way, we will improve the information disclosure quality and respecting the investors and return to the investors. We will work on cementing the micro elements. And also, fourthly, we will take targeted measures to encourage the enterprises to work on their main businesses. With stronger regulatory measures, we would try to resolve those illegal behaviors. So with stringent atmosphere, we will take orderly measures to revitalize the market players with strong supervision in place in the capital market. In that way, we are going to support high-quality growth. I know the capital market management is a long-term and systemic work. Looking back at the past 5 years, together, we have already given a very good answer with fruitful results seen. And looking into the next 5 years, we should remain confident, even with heavy burdens on our shoulders. We hope that in a lot more 5 years' time, we could continue the improvement of the capital market through capital market reform by avoiding the financial risks and encouraging innovation and high-quality development. The Securities Regulatory Commission will continue to implement the instructions of CPC Central Committee and the State Council. We will target at those measures and continue to open a new chapter of high-quality economic development. And here I warmly welcome your continued support of the capital market. Together, let's build a healthy Chinese capital market. Thank you. Thank you for watching.